So just announcement, we've got MP Tourism. They've come up with a new tourism policy for incentives, subsidies for investment in the hospitality sector. There's a presentation that's happening at 3 p.m. today, and I'd invite you all to be a part of it, please. Thank you.
Well, welcome back. And this convention would not have been possible without our sponsors. We would like to thank Madhya Pradesh Tourism, Maharashtra Tourism, Odisha Tourism, Toyota, Career, Oracle, TFCI, ONGC, Have More Ice Cream, Lords, Hotels and Resorts, Hungry Wheels, Aquashore, Kellogg's, Midori Green Tree, Danik Bhaskar, Air India, Fortune Basmati Rice, HPCL and IPCL. Now moving on to our next session of the day, which is on emerging food and beverages. I would like to invite our moderator of the day, that is Mr. Kamlesh Barot. So please. He is well known to all and needs no introduction, being the past president of FHRAI and HRAWI. He supports and guides the associations in the advisory council. He is the director of Barot Hotels and created Rajdhani and Revival brands. He is nominated on the HRD committee of CII and the IT committee of Vicky Frames, though FHRAI. He has been invited to visit several catering colleges and is on the scholarship trust of HRAWI IHM Trust, signatory to Faith, and drafted the tourism policy of Maharashtra and Gujarat states. He was awarded the Young Restaurant Entrepreneur of Year 2014 by FHRAI. And now I would like to invite our first panelist of the day, Mr. Gogi Singh. So please join us on stage. Mr. Gogi Singh is the Joint Managing Director for Pritam Group of Hotels and Restaurants. Pritam is a landmark brand in Mumbai, serving authentic Punjabi food since 1942. He's recently launched Grandma's Cafe, has multiplied into 3 outlets within a short span of 1 year. He commands 32 years of industry experience and is a major contributor to HRAWI and FHRAI. Apart from being the Vice President of HRAWI, he has been instrumental in representing the industry in delegations to the state and union government. Now, I would like to invite our third panelist, that is Mr. Ashish Sajnani. So please. Mr. Ashish Sajnani. Okay. Next panelist, Mr. Shrey Aggarwal. He is the co-founder and CEO of Belgian Waffle company. Shrey returned from a corporate job in the Philippines and started the Belgian Waffle company in 2005-2015 June, along with his wife and co-founder Alicia. In about a year and a half, his brand has grown to 6 outlets and counting. After this, Mr. Munaf Kapadia, next panelist. He is the Chief Eating Officer of the Bohri Kitchen, also known as TBK. To pursue his F&B dream, he let go of his 4.5-year online advertising career at Google. The original idea was to simplify, keep mom busy so that he would get more time with the living room television. But very quickly, with the power of his mother's sincere cooking and skills and Munaf's branding and PR skills, TBK turned into a food revolution. Mr. Ashish Sajnani. Okay, thank you so much. Now I would request our moderator, Mr. Kamlesh Barot. So please start. Thank you so much. Can we have mics on stage? Thank you.
Friends, good afternoon. We're just stepping into the afternoon. We're about half an hour delayed for this session. When we were talking about this subject, the creator of this business session was Mr. Jimmy Shaw. And I asked him, besides these panelists, whom else do you think we should have gotten here? Internationally, there are these trends about F&B, which are evolving. And if you look at London to start with, there's this Uber, which not only does cabs and taxis, but it also does food deliveries. In Bombay, we have this soda bottle opener wala restaurant, which is doing a good chain kind of effect all across. Beer stock exchange. There's one Mirchi and Mime, which is doing the employment for the hearing impaired. What I would like to ask these panelists first is, Mr. Kishore Biyani had done a statement in Economic Times on the 8th of September. Startups may be sexy, but 90% make no sense. Your feedback, Ashish?
Thank you for having us. To answer that, what one has an opinion can change. I mean, someone could say that startups are the future, startups are the way to go. But given the three of us that you have here, we are startups, right? I mean, sexy or not, we'll only find out over time.
Shrey?
Hello. Hello. So I think what he meant, I'm not sure, but in terms of context, I think what he was going for is that a lot of startups are not themselves building an economy on their own, rather, similar to Uber or what he's done with retail. I think a lot of startups are smaller parts of economies within bigger economies. And that itself is very important because startups create jobs and they create inspiration to other startups which may end up being bigger economies. So I think they're very important, even if according to him, 90% of them aren't that significant. I think the economy itself is extremely important. Yeah.
I'll want to ask this question next to Munaf. One of our earlier conventions, I had Mr. Homi Aybara, late stalwart of this industry. He'd put me on the panel, and when I was doing about 65 outlets of my brand, he came about and said, guys, 65 and all that don't make sense in international market. You've got to do 200 numbers and 300 outlets if you want to be counted. And at 65, we were sweating. I'd like to know today from Munaf that if it's a kitchen, a Bohri kitchen that mom inspired you to do, and you're doing a central kitchen now, how do these formats scale up? Because unless you do scaling, the private equity, the venture capitalists don't come up and don't have exits. So how do you look at your format doing scaling up?
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. So to be very honest, these are things that me and my business partner, we are figuring it out as it happens. Especially me, I don't have a food background. Until a year back, I was working for a leading internet company selling advertising to banks. In fact, when I quit my job, my initial thoughts were exactly like, those naive thoughts that, hey, I will quit my Google job and I'll go out there and I'll raise a couple of $1 million built on top of this thing that my mom's created. And I'll set up like 30 home delivery dark kitchens across India, and before you know it, Bohri kitchen will be all over the place. It's been a year since I quit, and I'm still struggling to replicate the food out of one outlet in Bombay. So reality kind of hits you. But still, I disagree with the statement that Mr. Biyani made, that a startup sexy, because despite not having earned a serious penny in the last 1 year, this job as the chief eating officer of the Bohri kitchen, it's sexy as hell. The kind of potential that I see TBK has, the amount of press that's picked us up, so our total investments in the Bohri kitchen, and this number will be pittance to the kind of people who are sitting out here in the audience today, or even on stage. We spent 2 lakhs in the Bohri kitchen till date, okay, in its 2 years of existence. We've got press, we've got PR, we've built a brand that's easily, like, professional estimates have been done, worth 5 crores, at least. Okay, we were on August 15th, we came in BBC and ET Now, simultaneously on BBC World across the globe. But how much business am I finally doing? It's been 3 months since we started our home delivery operations out of a kitchen in Worli. We touched 6 lakhs. Okay, again, a very small number. But our target is at the end of this year to hit at least 15 lakhs and in the next year to actually go out of India as well.
Munaf, I didn't ask you the question about the sexy thing of Kishore Bayani only for one reason, because when your CV came in, when your profile came, it said my mom was not allowing me to watch television at night in my dining room, and therefore I told you start cooking and start this Bohri kitchen and allow me to look at the television. So nothing sexy about it. About the food concepts, Gogi, I'd like to ask you. There is this fad about fusion food. Basically, I term fusion as confusion and not fusion. But there was this concept of molecular gastronomy which started off about 10 years in the Europe and UK markets. About 10 years back, it died down. People said we are not eating chemicals. And today in Mumbai, it has started becoming a fad to say, wow, this is a molecular gastronomy, outdoor catering or a restaurant and whatever. Why are you getting back to roots and not getting into this modern business?
Good afternoon, everyone. To answer your question, we're always looking at a niche in the F&B business. I'll just also comment on Mr. Kishore Bayani's statement. Firstly, I don't think the startup formula adheres to F&B. Yes, on certain other new startups, they are economically viable, not viable, they're accepted, not accepted because of their uniqueness. Food is not unique. What you do with food is unique. So when you start up an F&B outlet, the people know what you're doing. It's only how different you are. So I don't think we can call anything to do with food startup first. Secondly, coming to back to the roots, we made a conscious decision because my brand, my F&B, startup is as old as 1942. And how different can you make it? Now there are restaurants springing up every 2 feet. Whether it is successful or not depends on a lot of factors. But going back to the roots is, as you said, the trend was towards molecular gastronomy. I don't see, it's my belief, I don't see it going anywhere in India also because it's been there and done that. Secondly, we are all very aware of, the organic, whole organic train has set in. And eating chemicals, which exactly what you're doing when you're doing molecular food is not so acceptable, at least to me. How different we could be with our own food, we didn't want to mess around a brand that was started in 1942 and is accepted widely. So we wanted to target a niche audience. As we say, 70% of our population is below 30. So why not target them? So the Grandmama's brand came out from, going back to the roots, giving the name Grandmama. Everything was thought of so that people have this, they always talk about my mother or my grandmother made this. And, sometimes even we at home will tell our mothers that you can't make it as well as, my grandmother made it. So to get that sort of recall in everybody's mind. And yes, even I adhere to your belief that fusion is confusion. And I don't think it'll, you don't see so many fusion restaurants staying there. They can come, they can go, but your old values and your old food always remain. So we as a brand wanted to go back consciously. We are doing that with even our Indian restaurant, going back to the traditional ways of cooking. Without, we are enhancing the taste, we are not changing it. So grandmamas grew from that aspect.
We have a lot of delegates that are wives coming in with their husbands here. So it's only mamas and grandmamas that feature into the menus, and wives don't make good food. My wife makes excellent food. So we never look at women helping us in the businesses. It's only mom. But that's on a lighter note. What I'd like to ask Shrey, your Belgian waffles. Basically, refined flour, sugar, fat is what I remember from the catering college. Where's nutrition in this? McDonald's, in order to remove their fad about having these bad food that they call, had done an entire nutrition exercise to say, guys, we are doing this and your food is healthy. Domino's and Subways, you eat from our food outlet and you lose so many kgs. What happens to waffles?
So, hello. So I'm a big, I'm big on fitness and eating healthy as well. But I think there's a different kind of psychology when it comes to eating dessert. I think that functional foods are gaining trend and high protein, low carbs, all of that stuff. But when it comes to dessert, what I do personally is I just regulate the quantity or the frequency that I have dessert. I don't necessarily go to an ice cream shop or a donut shop looking for healthy alternatives. So I think that's a key psychology that we are kind of committed to in the dessert space, that people who come to us are looking for indulgence, they're looking for something to feel good. And if we can somehow create a recipe that gives you that same kind of indulgence with the health factor, then so be it. But we haven't been able to find an execution to that level yet.
Just to...
Thank you.
I think the day you introduce a whole wheat Nutella waffle will be the day the brand will collapse.
Yeah.
I think over lunch, all our delegates will give you a lot of inputs on how to improve nutrition and bring waffles.
I would love that.
The
That'd
ladies
be very
eating
welcome.
up.
Yeah.
Ashish, you're into food trucks. Our entire marketing strategy and things have funnels which say that if you have your target market in a 10-kilometer radius, that's what you should focus on, and your CRM should actually look at customers coming in from that 10 kilometers radius. You're mobile. You don't have a radius. How do you get your customer database right?
Honestly, it was a lot of trial and error when we started to tell people that to eat out of a food truck, people were worried about the hygiene levels to begin with. For us, the food comes out of a central kitchen. So when we're putting a truck out, we're actually letting people know on social media where we're going to be, and that is how our clients come to us. We do not stay in one spot for a long time, and we usually take the truck to music festivals, events. So before going out, we make good use of social media to people know where to come find us. Yeah.
So my next question to all of you all is, what is this seriousness that you give to our food critics and the bloggers and the Twitter and the Zomatos and the TripAdvisors? We're talking only about food guys on TripAdvisor. We're not talking about rooms and opinions right now. But how do you perceive the celebrities rip off these film critics once their film is doomed by those stars? What happens to food?
I'll comment on this. So I know this is a really controversial topic in the industry. It's something I've learned slowly. But at TBK, I think this brand, it's been built purely on this. It's been built on word of mouth and on food influencers. Okay, people, the only difference though is because I'm not from the industry and I wasn't from the industry, we never knew about these people and we didn't proactively approach any of them. So a lot of this stuff happened organically, where people organically ordered for our food. These food influencers who probably have God knows how many, whatever rating on Zomato, they would randomly turn up for a TBK. I would have no idea who they are. They would eat our food, genuinely, sincerely. I would charge them good money for it. And they would go back and they would write fantastic reviews. At the same time, I've had people who've ordered for our food and we've goofed up, genuinely goofed up. We sent food a day early once to someone's grandmother where it was supposed to be a birthday surprise. So you can imagine what happened, right? So obviously they destroyed us on, on social media and on Zomato and stuff. So net, I've never been in a situation, once I've been in a situation where somebody's reviewed us and I disagreed with the review and I bashed the guy on social media. Yeah.
Gogi, your take on Rashmi and Farzana and all of them?
Well, I wouldn't like to take names, but coming back to, they're good friends, so I'll reserve my comments on them. Yes, but both of them, yes, do have some knowledge about food. When we're talking about the reviewers, while it's very exciting and it's good for you and for the industry also, I take them with a fistful of salt because most of them don't know what they're talking about. All you have to do is have a smartphone, which, now even probably your gardener has one, and that doesn't make him a food critic. Yes, it is his opinion. I look at it that way, that every review that comes, I go through it personally, and I do very seriously look into it. But I don't treat them as critics. I treat them each as individuals. I have an opinion, he has his. So if you're not going to believe that this is the opinion of X thousand people, which I don't think you should, then you're sorted. If one of these, because they can play with your mind.
Correct.
They've probably fought at home, come and removed your frustration on you. So just take it with a.
No, you invest all your money, you put up the startup, you put everything in place, and then next Wednesday you have Thursday you have a review on the Times of India saying minus and 3 stars, and the crowd just disappears. So what's your take, Ashish and Shrey, on it?
So, I mean, for us, we are QSR, so I think the format's a little different. We end up relying more on footfall, and as a chain, I personally have a lot of gratitude towards platforms like Zomato because it helps us keep tabs on what the customer is saying about us. We use it as feedback to continuously improve and iterate. Like Gogi said, I mean, you definitely take it with a grain of salt or a fistful of salt. But at the same time, it's extremely valuable for us. It's helped us introduce new products. It's helped us identify service issues, a variety of things. I'm personally quite positive towards
Ashish?
Honestly, the feedback that we get from different people, it's never the same, right? In India, everybody's a doctor, everybody's a foodie, and everybody has their own opinion. So as these gentlemen rightly said, we got to take it with a pinch of salt. And everybody thinks it's their birthright to comment.
Guys, in 2012, when I was this president of this association, I was made to go to a lot of these catering colleges, and there were competitions and a lot of food shows and other things I had to attend. Being a vegetarian myself, it was always a challenge to go to these judges, being the judge and the president of the association, and say, well, I can't taste your food because I'm a vegetarian. We have a lot of guests coming to our brands who are Jains, and for a fact, I can't probably go and eat in Munaf's place because what options would I have as a vegetarian? Now you have these allergies, you have these intolerances. How do you all cope up with these kind of issues which are not religiously driven, but then food preferences? Gogi?
Well, 70% of all my menus are vegetarian, with a lot of Jain inputs, because I guess it's area driven. So that could be the reason. And I don't know, I don't think that Munaf would be a 100% non-vegetarian outlet. I'm sure he has. Yes.
So, so we get this a lot. Okay, it's sort of, I think we ourselves have fed this perception that Bohri food is non-vegetarian food. Little known fact, and it's something I'm going to use very effectively when I finally launch it as a PR play. Bohri vegetarian food is actually, like, I personally prefer that over a non-veg food. Like we, for example, have this dal chawal palidu. Okay, what the hell is that? It's a tuar dal based rice, which is smoked with a gungar. The water used to make the rice is turned into a gravy with drumsticks in it. Served along with fried papad and bengan bharta. It's like fantastic. Okay, no Bohri celebration goes without DCP, as we call it. But still, I want to answer this, I want to comment on this slightly differently. Sometimes it's okay not to cater to everyone. You know, sometimes, like with TBK, we've learned this. Every time I've said no to someone, I've seen our sales go up. It's like a beautiful correlation because what happens is your brand gets built, it gets strengthened. People are like, hey, this is not for everyone, so if I get to eat at this place or I get to order from this place, that's a special thing. And that has a very positive impact. So it's about balancing the two sometimes.
I agree with Munaf. You know, I mean, we also do not, at the truck at least, we do not try and cater to everyone. We let people know that this is what we have. We let the people know the menu in advance online, that this is what you're going to get today. And we mention that we're not like a gluten-free kitchen or kitchen that takes care of such things, lactose intolerant. Yeah, I mean, you can't really cater to everyone. But in the past, when I have designed menus for restaurants, we've kept in mind the needs of clientele. When we made in a bar, we made a Jain-friendly menu because the clientele that came to that bar were a lot of Jains and Gujaratis. So we actually made a heavy vegetarian menu when it comes to catering to a client. But at the truck, no, we don't.
The next question I have is about one experience that each one in this room from our delegates, hoteliers, members have always faced. When you want to start a new outlet, a new restaurant, a new hotel, we've got about 46 licenses that we got to take to start up an establishment of a 5D. And we are fighting that with the government of Maharashtra, and probably in the next week we should get some announcement about this single window thing I've been driving for 20 years. We have even an experience in my own restaurant in Sydney. We had the license come by post in a week. And when it came, I said, what does this mean? We don't need to go to the BMC to get a license. So these are the things that probably bother most of our members. And when I send this chat to all these gentlemen, they say, we're not bothered about licensing. That doesn't matter. So what is the take on licensing? What do you all feel? Gogi?
Well, it's actually 46 licenses over 8 departments with 25 NOCs. So that's, you know, cutting it and explaining it. See, this thing has become worse, I think. Not that it's bad that new people come into any business, but because our industry is taken as a very glamorous, wrongly, allegedly glamorous industry, it's attracting more and more people. What happens is when new people come in, they don't realize there are so many licenses and so many restraints. When they find out, they need to catch middlemen, you know, rephrased as handlers. And what you're essentially doing is requesting the government to cut red tapeism and make it one window. And you're giving it to this guy who's actually adding on his profits. And so it's like a vicious circle. So yes, as HRAWI is very prominently and successfully dealing with the government on this issue, all we can do is we can hope, because the window is anything between 3 to 6 months to get all your licenses. And it is one of the biggest irritants. I don't think financing is an irritant anymore or an issue. Licensing is. In fact, even when we are looking at expanding, but I am not looking at any new place which does not already have existing licenses, only because of this.
Ashish, the RTOs must be eating your head.
Yes, they do. So to deal with the licensing for food trucks, I obviously went and applied to every department. And the only answer I got from them is, nothing like this exists, so please leave. And then I was like, okay, I'm still going to do it. And then maybe then you can give me a license. So I look at the food truck business as a love marriage not supported by your parents. And then when you get married, they eventually come around. So something like that. So what I've understood about food trucks is licensing is going to be an issue for a while. But eventually they will come around. There are state governments in Kerala, the state government in Bengal. They have already started to approve licenses and make designated spaces for food trucks to be parked. What I have done in my personal capacity is I have formed an association. It's called TFTA, the Food Truck Association, Pan India, where we're trying to put people who own food trucks into into the forum and try and discuss and try and help each other out. The more food trucks that are put on the streets or in heritage places where I'm sure you must have encountered that people say, why don't you put a restaurant in this heritage space, and somebody comes and runs it. You could actually put a food truck there, and it takes.
No, I myself have actually suggested to the government of Maharashtra when they said a heritage site and we'll make a restaurant space for you. I said, once the operator goes out, what do you do with that brick and mortar? Put a food truck. You don't want it, you can always move it out. Munaf, you wanted to add something?
Just again, like one of the biggest turn-offs I faced when I got into this is licensing. It's so dirty. Sorry, I mean, I probably sound like a naive, young, but one thing I learned is the smaller you are, the easier it is to get licenses because then they pity you. Right, so for example, my business partner, he might have 800 deliveries a day to his name. So he's definitely not going and getting licenses. Okay, instead, Munaf Kapadia, whose mom started the Bohri kitchen out of her house, he's going to go and get licenses. And that's how we're slowly playing this game.
At the association, what we're doing is we are creating a single window in Maharashtra, which will be probably a click like a Flipkart shirt that you have. You can go on the site of the easy licensing and click whether you want a restaurant, a hotel, an excise permit, how much time it will take to get that, how much fees you have to pay. Pay it online. It will show you like the passport, where your application is moving, and at the end of it, probably like I did, get your license by post in a week, which is something that we probably fancy and God knows when it will realize. On marketing, what is your approach? How does CRM help you? And is manpower an issue, if you can answer out of turn?
Yeah, so CRM is extremely important. I think with us, if you see around 600 people walk into your store every day, that's 600 contacts and 600, pieces of information that you could use effectively towards selling more, upselling, and reaching out to them further. So, at the same time, for a QSR and for a chain, finding an effective CRM platform has been a challenge. So that's something we're working towards. What was the other part of your question? Yeah, I mean, manpower is a huge issue because we're looking at, again, different outlets. So in India, the kind of salaries you work with at this level, 8,000 to 12,000, these guys get poached left, right, and center, and it's very hard to retain good talent.
Manpower is definitely a challenge. Even though hospitality as an industry provides so many jobs to so many unskilled people, but the moment they start learning, and then someone is going to come poach them from you. So it's a huge challenge. And about CRM, I think it's a very beautiful thing that is there, which helps you put together data, profile your client, and then you know what he's eating and not eating, or when is his birthday, or when is his wife's birthday, or when is he celebrating something. So it's important to have a good CRM in place.
The CRM is important, as stressed by Shrey and Ashish both. It also tells you who your client is, what is his preferences, how many times he's visiting your place, and a whole lot of, it's like a report. So depending on what input you feed and what you want, you can get that report. Coming to manpower, it's a really, really big issue. As Shrey said that poaching is it's now like a norm. So whether your bracket is from 8,000, 12,000, or 12,000 to 20,000, or 20,000 to 30,000, there's one hawk all waiting to poach the guy. Whether he succeeds in retaining him is a different thing, because as you know, there's a poacher everywhere. And I really don't know. What we as a brand have done, I'm just giving you an example, is because we found that there are a lot of, there's a great turnover. Either people leave for, want of better prospects, or they are poached, or they just don't know what they're doing. So out of guilt, they have a 4-page resume, but they don't fit in, so they leave. But for whatever the reason, the issue is very large, and we are not getting people. And if we go to these catering colleges and other such places for staffing, everybody only wants to join a A-list restaurant or a 5-star. So we cannot sit there and tell the youngsters that, listen, it's not going to be possible for everyone. It's just a percentage. But then they are entitled to their dream. And now, how do we get, advertisements don't work. You really get really, really mediocre, or below mediocre standards. So we have started promoting from within the organization. It's working for me because we employ more than 400 people in all our outlets now. But it's working for me because there's more loyalty, because they can look ahead, that there is no standard I'm setting that you have to be an IHMCTA and student to get into the next level. No, your work speaks. So that is one aspect. It does. Well, yes, they leave, but they don't. If maybe 5 or 6 out of 10 would be leaving earlier, now I find 2 of them leave. Just probably 2 out of 10. So I'm retaining the other 3. That's good enough for me because I'm not getting staff anyways. Enough.
Right, so I'll break this up into 3 parts. Okay, marketing, workers, and then CRM. Marketing, TBK it's actually interesting how we marketed the Bohri Kitchen. It's a Facebook startup. In fact, I'm talking to the Facebook guys in Singapore to build a case study out of this. It's that we literally built the entire brand on Facebook. Okay, we didn't have money for anything else. It started with putting my sweet mom's photo on the Bohri Kitchen Facebook page and saying, she's the one cooking the food for you, to taking a selfie of myself when I entered the flight on my way here, saying, hey guys, the chief eating officer has been invited to, all of that's the marketing we do. It's all very organic, the Facebook page is like a reality show for the Bohri Kitchen. One of my biggest nightmares is as TBK scales up, and it will, how am I going to maintain that kind of organic marketing that we do? So that's marketing. Coming to manpower. Today, as I sit here, the reason I've struggled for so long is our initial approach towards replacing my mom's cooking was we'll get a Bihari Babu, okay, pay him 8,000 rupees a month. Very nice guy, very hardworking. We'll put him in the kitchen with my mom for 30 days, all right, and he will automatically learn how to cook Bohri food. Okay, we'll put him in the delivery kitchen and he'll start producing this food. Oh my God, it actually worked for 4 days. Okay, he made the best raan we've ever had, like the same thing my mom made. He made fantastic biryani, amazing khichda. The 5th day, I got a 1 out of 5 on Zomato. Okay, I broke down. I was like, shut TBK out, shut everything down, fire this guy, And we realized that approach doesn't work. And
mom started stopping you from watching television in the night.
Yeah, again, my mom stopped me from watching television. So we are still figuring this out. Our current approach is, thanks to my business partner, we have access to a lot of second-level manpower. Like we literally own a village in BR right now, okay, with all the manpower we have from there. but we are struggling with the higher class of manpower, you know, and we are still trying to figure out, do we really invest in, because our money is very sacred to us at this stage. Do we invest that 35,000 in like a proper professional chef? Or do we still stick to the strategy of getting a blank cook who we train very systematically and supervise very well? That's where we are. And the CRM, we can't afford a CRM. Uh,
Where's Jimmy?
our CRM is basically we struggle to save the numbers of the people who call us, okay, using Truecaller. It's all very jugaad, okay. We have a pause on which we obviously save the data, and like today I was supposed to finally download all that data and do something, but instead I decided to come out here, which I felt was a much better use of my time.
While we are on finance, I'd like to ask you all. At the association yesterday, Mr. Nair had mentioned about the ease of business and procuring finance for hotels. We are in the league of trying to get finance for the industry at a lower percentage of interest. TFCI today charges 14%. We have a moratorium of close to 2 years, and the repayment period is about 5 to 6 years, like your education loan and the car loans. When I mentioned this to you, we are actually struggling with the ministry and the financiers and all of them to increase the repayment period so that we are able to pay back in time. To increase that moratorium, because like you all know, it takes 3 months to set up the place and the guy says my rental is on. For the interest, internationally 4%, 5% is where interest parks at, and we are looking at 14%. When I asked you all guys, you all said, finance, no problem. They are running behind us to finance us. What does this mean?
So personally, from my experience, I've been lucky to be introduced to a couple of people who are interested in the angel space and the venture capital space. The way they look at the food business is, to a certain extent, a lifestyle business, where it doesn't have the kind of exponential growth that you'd see with a tech company. But at the same time, it's a more proven revenue model because you see cash flows from the same day. So it's a way for them to diversify their portfolios. And from that standpoint, finance is easy, or I guess cheaper than going to a bank and working out with 14% interest rates. So that's been my take on it, and we do have a little bit of seed funding from an investor, and that's where I'm coming from.
Finance clearly is easily available to startups these days, but it's who's offering it to you. Like there are a lot of VCs and venture capitalists and angel funds that want to invest in hospitality because they think it is very glamorous, as Gogi said, but it's the least glamorous job. And people ask us that, you do such fancy things, and if someone looks at Munaf and said, oh, Munaf is traveling here, but little did they know that probably Munaf on his way back has to pick up some spices when he lands and see the butcher and get the right cut. People
You
don't
just
see
reminded me, thanks.
so people don't see that part of the job, right? That, when we're starting off, or even when you're established, there is always something that you need to do yourself, or figure something out. So everybody from the outside thinks it's a great space. Everybody wants to invest money in it, and wants to sit back and look good in their portfolios. So so for my take on this is that one has to be very careful who he takes his money from, and obviously at what interest rate.
See, in the industry, we have one norm which says that if you have private equity or you have public equity, IPOs and all of those, it's funding which is post-profits. While if you have a loan from TFCI or something, it's on your P&L, so it's a costly finance that you're getting. What happens to your venture capital? Are they fitting in any of these?
To be very honest, I don't think half the people in hospitality are making money right now. And even then, even if you're a loss-making company, people will come to you with bags to give you money, saying, "Listen, let me put my money in and see how we can turn it around." And then obviously he wants a higher stake in your business, because the more you scale, the more outlets you open is when you'll actually start making money for the others, not for yourself.
And you burn money also. How fast you're burning money?
Oh, there are so many ways to burn money.
Munaf?
So again, with my limited knowledge of the space, I see F&B divided into two types of business. One is the heavy overhead, heavy capital business, which has a longer term ROI model. And the second is a very low capital business. That's the dark kitchen model. That's the food tech model. That's the food delivery model. You know, where you're trying to do 1,000 deliveries and you're still paying rents of 20,000, 30,000 rupees a month. Uh, because the face of your business is not your kitchen. Again, then the other side is, you guys, you're setting up a restaurant in BKC, oh my God. You know, so investors also obviously look at it from that point of view. So if you are the latter and you've built a brand and you've actually managed to build an asset which is not capital intensive, in this case a brand, and the logistics behind it and the technology behind it, then you can attract funding. You know, so it's still a rational play from their point of view. It's not a, hey, let's put in money behind a startup. This is F&B, which, like these guys said, the current investor ecosystem is very excited about. Okay, they've moved on from e-com and this and that, and now they've come to F&B. But they're still not very excited about capital intensive businesses, is my assumption at this point in time.
Did this inspiration of capital come from Hemant Oberoi's kitchen, private kitchen in his, private dining in his kitchen, in terms of capital investment?
No, not really. In my case, it's really just, I mean, the day TBK started, I'll tell you, okay? I was literally sitting at home and I was fighting with my mom for the remote, okay? And my mom's like, no, I'm not giving you the remote, I'm watching my Saas Bahu show. And this is 5 years of struggle, okay? And all of us, me and my 3 siblings, okay? Everyone's moved out, everyone's a big shot now in their respective fields. We are frustrated at how my mother's turned into this housewife, from being someone who was very ambitious, etc. at once upon a time. So we are like, you have to do something. And I told her, I'm inviting people home next weekend. They're going to pay 700 rupees to eat your food. You have to cook something. That's how it started. There was no business agenda, there was nothing. After 3 months of doing it, when the press picked us up, and suddenly like one of the big shots in Google WhatsApped me, dude, I just saw your article in Jet Wings. I was like, hey, this is actually turning into a business. And then I had to create this entire facade that I knew what I was doing from day one. You know, and how I built a... Thank you so much. I don't deserve that at all. It's still 6 lakhs a month, okay? How I created a very capital-light brand, okay? And now I'm getting into home delivery, which also I'm doing in a very capital-light way by leveraging the insights of my partner, Gurmeet Kochar.
I never thought this was serious. I thought it's a marketing gimmick. Mr. Farhad Jamal is here. We had this marketing gimmick about Taj being built the wrong way and the architect suiciding himself from the top of the terrace and all of that. And from the colleges, we used to hear this as a story. So when I met our President of Honor, ABK, I said, Mr. Kerkar, did the architect really suicide? He said, a marketing gimmick. There was nothing that the Taj was built the wrong way and the architect suicide. So I was taking this with a pinch of salt, but you really mean business.
Yes, I've quit my job, which paid me a lot. So I better, like my father still teases me every single day. He's like, you were one of the big shots in the digital advertising space. Now you've started selling samosas. Make sure it's worth it.
When I asked these gentlemen this question on the WhatsApp before putting this session together, I said high rentals is something when in my brand I used to keep 15% as an average that I would allow any sort of rental space to be bought. And if it was more than 15% on rentals, I used to say we don't want to pay the landlord and not earn anything for ourselves. These guys said high rentals, they're a different breed altogether. They don't answer any of our questions the way the industry answers. I said, high rentals, very good. We get good footfalls and we get good visibility, so we're in for high rentals. We are crazy guys. 15% is the norm the industry has.
So I think that was my opinion. I think everyone else agreed with you. But yeah, in the QSR, I believe that you need that high footfall, you need that visibility, because you are not the anchor store, you're not the destination, which, if you have a full dining experience, you become that. So, that's my personal opinion on it, and it's worked out for us so far. So, rentals, which are really low, I believe that would kill my business because that would have very low visibility and footfall.
We are a little more conservative in this approach. While I agree with Kamlesh sir here, that 15% is what we ideally want to look at. A little bit of tweaking can do. But I do not disagree with Shrey also, because that's what his module is set for. Somebody like me who needs a minimum area of 2,200, 2,500 square feet, that high rentals would be disastrous. That's why I guess we haven't really expanded the way we would like to. But now I think rentals are falling, so we can make the most of it.
This is probably the last three questions I would like to put across to the team here. SOPs, standardization, ways to run businesses, strategies, policies. Does this all make any sense to you all?
I think SOPs is very important. If one wants to grow, that is the way to go. Unless and until your recipes are not standardized, your portions are not fixed, you do not know what meat you're buying from where, your cost is going to go for a 6. I mean, for us guys, at the level we are, I think every 1% matters to a lot of, I mean to us at least.
Policies, standardizing when you're geographically expanding with chains, how do you want to standardize things and bring systems and processes and controls in space?
Honestly, for us, it's also a learning curve. So every day we also figure out that what we did yesterday was not right and we need to correct it. I mean, it's a learning curve for us. But to begin with, yes, SOPs is very important. And hopefully by next year, if you still have us here, we'll have better answer for that.
Definitely. So our kind of vision is to be a brand which also franchises. So SOPs and systems are extremely important. The way we are going about it is looking at obviously a POS system through which we can control inventory and sales, and therefore the recipes also. Yeah,
I think SOPs play a very important part, and everybody is doing his bit. Our SOPs start with identifying our suppliers and handling of food, cleanliness, whatever standards, and staffing too. Where we've fallen short is in the staffing range, because we've had to tweak and sort of get out of our comfort zone sometimes. But then that's the whole name of the game. Without SOPs, I don't think you would get any kind of standardization. One restaurant, maybe two, nothing more than that. Sorry. Controls, yes. Thankfully, I'm running Jimmy's software, so
You're able to afford it.
so I can do that. But yes, controls in all areas. What we tend to think is, because if you're growing, it becomes that much more important for you to standardize and to list out your controls, without which you can get haywire. Like, just giving you an example is, as I earlier said, that it's so glamorous to get into this, allegedly glamorous to get into this business. You're selling on cash and getting on credit. It almost takes you a year to realize you're actually making a loss. So that's where your controls come in.
The point about the food and the beverage and the beverage and the food, vice versa.
Yes, that I'm doing in my new brand called MRP, where we are driving food through liquor instead of it being vice versa. We are giving you liquor at, if you want to buy a bottle, we are giving it to you at MRP. Provided you eat our food, there is a minimum, like say 750, 800 rupees, which is not much, which you'd be spending anyways. So we are trying to, get this a norm that my restaurant is a all-day happy hour. restaurant. There are no happy hours. It's an all-day happy hour. Just come and have your food. Have, reasonable and cheap liquor. And, that's how I sell my food. So I've seen that it's everywhere else, it's vice versa. And it's working.
So at TBK, some of our samosas are bigger than the other samosas. Right? Sometimes a run weighs 900 grams when it's supposed to weigh 1.1 kilo, but we still charge 1,500. So, and we got very excited 9 months back when we saw these problems because we were like, done. Okay, so me and my partner, we made a Google spreadsheet and we said the run has to weigh 1.1 kilo. Okay, the samosa has to have so many grams of keema in it, and this is the SOP you have to follow. And then we gave it to our 8,000 rupee cook. And he's like, sir, I can't read all this. So 9 months later, we still haven't learned our lesson. We're still making mistakes. But the basic lesson we've learned, and when we launch our new kitchen now, is execution is far more important than the SOPs you actually set into place. So the guy you hire to actually enforce those SOPs is what we are now focusing on. And that's basically where we are at TBK.
Thank you, gentlemen. At least one point you all are common with the industry. We also think about the same on SOPs, and good, one of you all didn't say junk the SOPs, they don't work. The last question before I go to the audience, to all you gentlemen, is you have created yourself a concept which was not existent, which was a fantasy, which was something which just came to your mind. You were able to execute it, and it's been quite some time that you've been going on with that concept with whatever conviction you have. Was there something else that was running in your mind which you said, I also want to do this, and it didn't happen either because of licensing or finance or viability or Indian markets or anything? I'd like each one of you to give us what was running behind your mind when this concept rolled in, what didn't roll off.
I feel like I should answer this last because so when I quit my internet job. The idea wasn't to start selling samosas. The idea was to create the next biggest, most happening thing in food tech, which will one day put my face on Economic Times as, the young co-founder of blah, 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 who's raised $100 million from Tiger Capital and all that. I wanted to create an application which would aggregate home dining experiences across the city and country and create this parallel restaurant economy where people can go to home chefs, households, and experience this experiential dining concept. I spent 1 lakh building the app and stuff like that, and I even almost raised 50 lakhs as seed funding. I almost signed the documents, etc. And after doing all of that, I'm like, wait a second, will anyone actually book a seat on this app? So I finally, I figured out the supply side, and then I started calling up friends who were very excited about this thing. Hey, listen, if I launch this tomorrow, will you download it? And they hesitated, and that scared the hell out of me. And that's when I realized that, wait a second, TBK is doing so well, let's double down on TBK. So now all my wacky ideas are still there, but it's more focused around the Bohri kitchen itself. So now in TBK, I want to do a lot of stuff. See, the vision remains constant because you need one vision which kind of leads you on, so you don't lose your path. The vision is the same way that everyone on this, in this audience, all of us on stage, are familiar with certain cuisines. We know what Belgian is, we know what Chinese food is, Indian Chinese food is. We know what Lebanese food is. No one knows what's Bohri food. If you go on Zomato, if you go on Scootsie, if you go on whatnot, there's no genre, there's no category called Bohri food. The Bohri kitchen is going to be that brand which is going to plug that gap in. Okay, we are going to introduce Bohri food to non-Bohris who've never heard of it for the first time. And those of you who have, we are going to be the brand through which you access this food. And we will not do this in the conventional way. I won't become the other biryani delivery brand. I'm going to do a TBK tour across India where we are going to conduct experiential Bohri dining experiences with the thal and whatnot. We are going to innovate on our samosas by collaborating with various big restaurants, and I'm going to come to each and every one of you with my business card. Oh, yes.
Actually, something I had been toying with for the last maybe 3 or 4 years was something that Ashish is doing, and I'm still toying with it. I wanted to get into, and I still do want to get into the food truck business in a very passionate way. But as long as licenses are a restriction, as I said, I don't even go to a place which does not have a license. So it will come around, and when it does, I'll be there. I'll be sitting with Ashish, taking some points from him, because he's one step ahead, and I would want to do that surely.
So I think the whole experience with Belgian Waffle has kind of brought to light through its limitations a lot of opportunities as well. So I think we talked about one, employment. I think there's a big gap between employees and employers. I think there's a huge market for job seekers, and yet as employers we still find ourselves struggling to find the right people. So there's a big opportunity to bridge that disconnect. So that comes into besides food. It's mostly a tech kind of opportunity there. In food, FMCG, I believe has a long way to go in India. In a lot of developed countries, you see flash frozen foods, 2-minute meals, all of that kind of stuff. And that's something that I'm beginning to get more and more interested, because it allows you a tremendous scale. But yet India, in terms of timing of the consumer and also distribution channels, is still limited. So these are just things that are still exploring.
Ashish, you wanted to do a PowerPoint presentation for this speech. What was it about?
It was me standing in the truck to begin with and building it.
No, that's established. What you wanted to do.
Well, I wanted everyone to see that the new vertical that we're trying to create, like Munaf said that he's trying to create a vertical for having home chefs. I wanted to create a vertical of that anybody and everybody in this room can start their own food truck. Everybody here is an established hotelier. I wanted to show everybody that if you all have all the means with you all, be it a kitchen, be it necessary licenses, the more the culture builds, there are more jobs. There are more people who will be able to fulfill their dreams. Everyone somewhere in their head, they think that that they could be a chef or they could be the next big restaurateur. I think a food truck is a good stepping stone for someone to begin. There are many brands internationally, hotel chains, that also run food trucks. So that's what I wanted to advocate and have people look at, that it's doable here if one puts their mind to it, and if the licenses fall in place, as Gogi rightly said, I think we will see 1,000 trucks then all across.
I'll tell you my experience at Chapati. We wanted to do a banquet space that was a pop-up concept, and we said, let's not do the food ourselves. We'll create the ambience, we'll create the board and everything, and we call it Ixia, which was a flower in Japanese. And we said, outsiders will come and cook in my kitchen, and then there'll be a banquet, and there'll be all fancies just vanished in a year, and it really didn't materialize. None of you all thought about pop-ups?
So what I did 4 months ago, I set up a food truck square. I invited people who have trucks from all across Bombay. We put 10 trucks in the middle of Phoenix, Lower Parel. We hit 13,000 footfalls in 2 days, and we also broke the internet. It was a pop-up. I mean, Munaf was mentioning that he would like to do something like this. It was inspiring for him. Munaf can fill you in what he wants to do about that.
So, at least in Bombay, this concept of pop-ups is now, I think, massive, right? Be it home chefs inviting people home to eat food, or going to other spaces, etc. So, like for example, what Ashish is referring to is his Bombay food truck concept, the food truck festival he did, gave me an idea, which is what if I conduct a Bohri Mullah festival out of the same space in Phoenix, the beautiful thing about pop-ups now, it's ultimately you're taking a concept and an idea and you're executing it wherever the hell you want to do it. So for example, on Saturday, we did our most ambitious and incredibly scary thing that we ever did, which I'm going to brag about for 3 seconds, which is at Willingdon Sports Club in Bombay, we conducted what we do at home for 15 people for 217 of Willingdon's hoity-toity people, like incredibly fancy crowd. We took 32 tables through a Bohri dining experience on a thal. The idea was to create a pop-up, create a thing that's never happened before, so you generate curiosity. And that's what I feel the biggest strength of a pop-up is.
Excellent. Mr. President, you told me to shut up at 1 o'clock, and it's sharp 1 hour that we have conducted. I'll just take 5 minutes for Q&A. But before I throw the floor open for the House, I want to ask, is anybody in this room not fascinated with these 4 operators? Put your hand up. I'm not wanting to have them in my association. Anybody? No hands up? Everybody loves them? Are you all... no. Now the question is to the other side. Munaf, are you the member of the Hotel Association or FHRAI?
No, I'm not.
Gogi, is your MRP or grandmama anywhere not a member of the association?
Yes, the grandmama, one of my outlets is not.
Belgian Waffle, member, non-member? Non-member. Ashish, member, non-member?
My other brands are members, but not the food truck.
Not the food truck.
Not the food truck.
So I want to ask this question to the president of HRAWI and FHRAI. We have a small membership committee in our association, and we require these guys to have a 10-table restaurant and a format and a license and all of that. Only then we admit them as members. So guys, are we talking about this 60, 65-year-old association having these kind of stigmas in our brain, or we allow them to come in and become our members? On that take, we'll take the question and answers from the audience.
Hi, I'm Vikram Sood from Hungry Wheels, and I have a question for 3 of you. Ashish, I've eaten at the Phoenix Market City thing. It was fabulous. It was like,
Thank you.
It was a fabulous weekend. I was in Bombay.
Let's take the question because I don't want another panelist in the audience.
Between the 2 guys, I would like to ask, have the 2 of you thought, Belgian and Bohri Kitchen, have you thought about a mobile restaurant as a way to expand quickly? That's one. Because Gogi and I have had an offline conversation and we are having a conversation further. So I want to understand, what are you seeing apart from licensing, which is a challenge?
For a TBK food truck.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely, it's like a dream idea. It's like I would love to do it.
Okay.
It took me one day to realize that, wait, I can't do it. Then that's when I discovered what Ashish is like trying to lobby and etc. The challenges beyond licensing which I'm facing, honestly, there are none. That's the beauty of a food truck idea. You set aside 4.5 lakhs, you build your food truck up. I'm not going to build a fancy one. It'll look good from outside. And hopefully the licenses don't cost a bomb. The food is easy to produce for a food truck. So that's never a challenge.
Ashish, your answer?
No, he's already in the food truck business. Belgian?
Likewise, I'm totally for food trucks. I think it's an extremely flexible way to capture the locations. The only question is, the licenses, whether I'll be allowed to do it is the only thing. Doing it is not a problem.
See, the obvious challenge of how will we get people to eat that food, that's the fun challenge. That's where the marketing comes in. So hence I'm not mentioning that, but operationally there are no challenges.
I would like to talk to both of you about that.
Over lunch.
Yeah.
Let me take sharing
Thank you.
because I want more questions from the audience.
Question is for Ashish, because you're doing food truck, right? So what is the business model and what is the investment required and what has been the experience in terms of turnover and profitability?
I think that's confidential for him to open up in the entire audience. Let him talk to you outside over lunch. Anybody else?
Over lunch, sir, I promise you.
I have 2 questions actually. One is to Ashish. You're in the food truck business. So you are competing with a lot of other food trucks in terms of you have all those tempos who are open and they make poha and chai and, with a semi-skilled kind of a thing. So in the absence of ambience, and where the Indian public doesn't really care about hygiene, taste wins over hygiene. How do you compete with them? That's number 1. Number 2, when you expand your fleet of trucks, without any, you don't have any places designated for you to park the trucks. So what is your business plan when you expand your fleet as to where it goes? So I'll just complete my question so that you can answer both. The other one is to Bohri Kitchen. I was just the other day going through my mobile app, and I realized that there are 250 apps on food apps available on that. So considering the kind of competition that you have, and where you see a lot of such online food platforms shutting down, so what is your model for sustainability over others, although your concept of a Bohri kitchen is very unique?
Excellent.
So, and I really feel that you're a very brave guy to really come out and do this. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll start with that. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of competition out there for anyone in F&B today, be it a restaurant business, be it home delivery, be it food tech, whatever that is. With TBK, what I've realized is the day I start focusing on a particular channel, so like building an app is a channel, you know, building a website is a channel, focusing on home delivery is a channel. The day you start focusing on a channel and you build your business around a channel, that's when you start worrying about competition. But at TBK, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a brand. I'm trying to build an identity. I'm trying to build something which will capture mindshare permanently in a very unique, beautiful way that you might relate to it in different means of your life, you know. It doesn't have to be something that comes to your mind when you want to order for food. TBK will come to your mind when you're thinking about your mom and how she's very talented. You know, it's a story which I'm trying to pitch to the market out there, and which we've been very lucky has been executed and pitched in that way. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but the idea is if you build a brand, then the channels will automatically generate business for you because your brand will be searched on Google. You know, that's how it works.
Ashish, your answer.
Have you seen my truck? So the food we serve on the truck is gourmet sandwiches, hot dogs, burgers, something as fancy as a baked vada pav, something as simple as a bunny chow. We serve it with the Indian twist. As Munaf rightly said, when you build a brand and when people even pay to do a search engine optimization, I chose the easiest name, Bombay. Because anybody who's going to come to Bombay is going to first type in where to eat in Bombay or Bombay and food. Hence I named it Bombay Food Truck. So that was something I decided before I even started the truck business, that if I get the marketing and the brand right, and we will generate interest. About scalability and where I'm going to be placing them, or the increase in my fleet, I started off with one truck. It took me about 2.5 months to build it. I'm at my second truck as we speak, and by the end of October I will be on truck number 4, and by December I'll be at 6. Where do I place them? Music festivals, events, maybe next year at FHRAI's event in Bombay.
Well, that Mr. Shamaraj will have to decide. Next question.
Just a simple question to the gentleman doing food trucks. How do you ensure you don't throw whatever the waste you generate or from the customers generate on the street, because we suffer huge amount of littering, garbage in the city roads?
So the water wastage that comes out of the truck has a 350-liter overhead disposable tank and a 60-liter tank that is below the body of the truck. We carry a pipe and we make sure wherever we are parked, it is put into the sewage system of that building or that compound or the school. We carry 2 portable dustbins with us, and we instruct everybody who's eating with us, sorry, not instruct, we politely ask them that once you are done eating, could you please dump it in the garbage? And everyone does, because it's the experience that they are getting. I mean, to make people stand in line to get food from you in Bombay is a challenge. So we successfully managed to do that. And they've all been very kind and been supportive. And because they know the challenges we are going to face if we are going to litter. So most people are very cooperative.
Thank you.
I'll add on to the answer to your question, Bharat, is about a year and a half when we started off Chapati Revival again, there was this banquet food that get wasted once the banquet function is over, and all of us face this because minimum guarantee and expected numbers and all of that, a lot of food gets left over. There is this company known as Robin Hood whom we tied up with about a year and a half back. And what they do is once your function is over, you give them a call. Shail is over here, he can talk to you about the logistics, how it works. But the Robin Hood army comes in, they pick up all the food that's left over, immediately they go out and then distribute it amongst the have-nots. So that's something which we can actually take forward. Any other questions, or we can break for lunch? Yes, Prem.
This is to Ashish. I just want to ask you, are the food trucks legally allowed in Bombay?
They're not, as of now, on the streets.
Thank you.
But I don't park on the streets. We park them in institutions, park them in schools, colleges, at Music Fest, not on the streets. And I'm not even advocating for trucks to be parked on the streets. Before you, I noticed you just walked in. So I've set up a body called the TFTA. It's about Food Truck Association, where I'm talking to the BMC of trying to get designated spots across the city next to maybe theaters or parks. Maybe we don't have enough parks. But till that is not regulated, it is going to take some time. So I'm working on it.
We are actually working, Bharat could tell us more about, Valsa and I are trying to do it at MTDC to create licenses for the food trucks. But right now, Prem, you can park your trucks within the confines of like the Phoenix Mill. Within the Phoenix Mill, you can have 10 trucks and nobody has any objection to it. So that's the way to work around the...
And as long as what we also try and do is tell people not to put gas on their trucks. Then it's like a living time bomb. It's always sensible to have electrical burners, work on appliances that do not use gas. It's safe then.
Yes.
Ashish, has Raj Thackeray vandalized any of your trucks because you've used Bombay food truck instead of Mumbai food truck?
I've also put my face on it. No, fortunately. Sorry? No, so as Gogi rightly said, I written in Marathi. So I knew that would come, but not yet, and I hope not.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being excellent panel speakers over here, and from the association, a heartfelt.
To all the dignitaries for sharing your knowledge and vision at this platform. Now I would like to invite Mr. Love Malhotra, Vice President of FHRAI, to give mementos to all the dignitaries. Ashish. Thanks also. Thank you so much. And now it's time for lunch break. Kindly spare some time and visit FHRAI and HNFS exhibition at Summit 1 and 2, which is next to the registration area. Our next business session will commence in next half an hour. Thank you so much.